This is insane. Marathon's entire art style and various assets may have been stolen. We have a Twitter user here named N2, and they have shared a ton of evidence. They brought the receipts to call Bungie out on their lifting of their different posters. Here we go. The Marathon Alpha released recently, and its environments are covered with assets lifted from poster designs I made in 2017. Now that is a bold claim. Obviously, you got to bring some receipts to prove this. So what have they shared with us? This is their original image, and they actually have the Twitter URL here so that we can go back and see that it's properly dated. And so we clicked on it, and you can see here it's got like cryptic numbers with it, 170715, and it dates back to July 15th, 2017. So it adds up. All right, so this is their image on their profile that predates Marathon's conception, because Marathon, we know, has been developed for around, it depends on which dev you ask, but around like 4 to 6 years, somewhere around there. I think it may have just been like an idea or an incubation project for a bit, but it's around 4 to 6 years Marathon was developed. So the latest it would go back to would be maybe 2019. And this is what we have here. This is an image that they made, a poster. It says Aleph, and then it has a line going across it. And then on top of that, it says like dark space, something logistics, right? Heritage logistics, all right? And you can see inside the Marathon Alpha, when you look at various different buildings, this is one of the like rockets that drop stuff here. All right, you can see the exact graphic, one for one, the exact lining up, the font style, everything is exactly as they made it, copy and pasted from their poster inside Marathon. So completely lifted. There's no denying that this happened at this point. The second part, you can see it again on the outside of this building, the same thing. And the third one as well. So it's all over in Marathon. This particular image definitely lifted. This art style was definitely taken from them and used to create Marathon to some degree. All right, and they obviously were not credited. They were not paid for this. That's obviously a bit frustrating for them. And so what do they want from this? Let's look into this a little bit deeper. Well, actually, let's look at the other image we have here before we get into that. This is the second piece of evidence that they share with us. This is their original post. And again, they have the Twitter URL here. So that way, if you want to, you can verify the exact date of it, go back. It's got like 2 chevrons on it and then a couple little symbols behind it, some rectangles behind it. You can see those images being used to some degree. I mean, if I'm being honest, this one's not as convincing as the others because, you know, 2 chevrons next to each other, you know, we could be saying this is stealing from hunters in Destiny at this point, right? So it's not as convincing as the last one, I'd say. But this piece down here has a rectangle with some text in it, 3 lines of text, and the number 28 next to it. That is a 1 for 1, exactly what's happening over here. So definitely something going on between that one. The number 28, the rectangle, and then the exact same, there's 3 words written in here, and you can see they're written here as well. So that definitely happened. And then we also have these two in combination here, where you have like these little like warning signs. They're squares with little symbols in them, and you can see it has a very, very similar art style to what is in Marathon. So definitely some assets lifted. Definitely they took from this artist in terms of, you know, not just inspiration. So what do they want? They go on to say, Bungie is, of course, not obligated to hire me when making a game that draws overwhelmingly from the same design language I have refined for the last decade. So they've been working on this art style for so long now. Look at some of these images they have. These are incredible, right? You can see this. This looks like something in Marathon, right? Potentially because they took this and put it into Marathon, right? To some degree. So this looks exactly like Marathon and Marathon's art style and the different ARG puzzles that we're trying to solve and things of that nature, okay? Now, there's obviously going to be some similarities from one art style to another, though. So you can't necessarily knock on something for taking inspiration. But they've kind of refined this entire genre. Like, they are the person of this genre. They are one of the most prolific artists of this, from what it would seem. But clearly my work was good enough to pillage for ideas and plaster all over their game without pay or attribution. Now that hurts. You have to pay them, especially if you're lifting assets, and attribution would at least be nice that you took inspiration from this artist to create this art style in your game, because I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point, okay? Not only that, we do have them tagging Bungie themselves, and they actually do tag Joseph Cross, who is the franchise art director for Marathon. And when you actually look at their profile, you'll notice that when you look at followers and followers, you know that Joseph Cross does in fact follow them. So they know about this art style, they know about this artist, and so do various other Marathon developers as well. So it's definitely not like some conspiracy theory at this point. Like, it's pretty obvious that they were aware of this and took from this art style. Okay. So what's the next part they say? I do not have the resources nor the energy to spare to pursue this legally. Well, you'd be surprised what people would do to support you in that, but I don't think it'll get to that. I'm sure Bungie will, try to make amends here. But I have lost count of the number of times a major company has deemed it easier to pay a designer to imitate or steal my work rather than to write me an email, which is definitely frustrating, right? They've worked so hard on this genre, and they haven't been included in any sort of game development projects, which they should. Obviously, they deserve it, right? Especially if you're going to make a game like Marathon. You'd think that you would look at their art style and what they're cooking, and you'd be like, hey, we need you on our team, right? Rather than kind of stealing their assets, allegedly. We haven't got a response from Bungie yet. We have to see what they say. In 10 years, I have never made a consistent income from this work, and I am tired of designers from huge companies mood boarding and parasiting my designs while I struggle to make a living. Damn, that really hurts. It's hard to see someone who's worked so tirelessly for 10 years, it sounds like, developing this entire art style, kind of just get everything taken from them and used and profited by the big companies, right? Like Bungie in this example. So someone said before, like I said, Joseph Cross follows you. Any insight you can give on the connection there? And they say he's followed me for a few years, and a few others from Bungie. Never had any communication. So no one from Bungie has ever reached out or contacted them in regards to any of this. And this post is blowing up, by the way. We just started talking about this about 20 minutes ago, and it had 100 likes, and it's now at almost 900. So this is going to be top trending inside Twitter, and this is going to get everyone's eyes and everyone's attention. So be prepared for a big one. It would be very wise for Bungie to try to respond to this as soon as possible, because they have obviously done this person dirty to some degree, and they need to make it right. The best case scenario, I guess, admit that they took these assets because it's pretty obvious, and just apologize and pay them accordingly. Even better than that, though, it sounds like they actually genuinely want a job. They said they've been doing this for 10 years and they never get consistent income. So you know what? If you really want to be the good guys, Bungie, you hire this person, okay? And you make them the art director or whatever. Give them creative reins, because clearly they're incredible at what they're doing. Like, this is Marathon. This is Marathon, and this is not from Marathon. This is from this individual. This is what they do. This is what they love. This is their passion. So I don't think this should be stripped from them. I don't think this should be taken and used to create Marathon. I think you should pay this individual to help you develop this game. That is the best case scenario. That is the right thing to do. And if they're interested in working with you, that is, because obviously they're a little bit frustrated with these companies just, parasiting their work, right? So they might not necessarily be particularly happy about it, but if they were interested in getting consistent income, that would be a really good outcome, especially with all the bad PR currently already surrounding Marathon. It's not a good look for them, right? They definitely don't need this. This is already a dumpster fire, and now we're basically just pouring gasoline on top of it with this, on top of everything else that happened with the alpha. So will be interesting to see what the response is. When we do get a response, we will immediately bring you an update video. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications on if you want to stay up to date on all things Destiny 2, Marathon, Bungie, etc. That's a wrap on this one. See you in the next one. Later.